Hey guys, Desolate Magic here, and this video is in a direct response to a bunch of people requesting that I, link to this, show it off, do a video, whatever, explain it. A lot of people want this link almost entirely to shove it in the face of people on Reddit, which I can support that, or their own friends, or some, pro wannabe net deck douchebags they play with at their LGS, or just whatever. People have said, I don't believe you that Wizard said this. Well, link in the description, bookmark it. Hell, screenshot it, copy, pasta it, I don't care. Whatever you do, share this. Post it on Facebook for your Aunt Cheryl to see, because Cheryl needs to hear about this, damn it. So, Bryan Hawley, who works in, I don't know what they call it now, a Play Design team, formerly the R&D department, whatever. So Bryan Hawley, he is... Let me put it this way. Mark comes up with the stupid ideas, Bryan designs the cards, and then Aaron stamps his stamp of approval because he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. That's my understanding of how they do things, but they change it so often and they're so secretive of it, that might be a little off. Who knows? So what I'm saying is we have a third person that should get fired. So he starts off by saying, for the period starting in Battle for Zendikar and going through Core Set 2019, let me remind you, BFZ single-handedly broke Modern. So he's about to say that they decided to power it way down. Really, BFZ? Really? I don't know, the set was weak besides Eldrazi Blitz, and Eldrazi Blitz was only good because of the sporting cards in Modern, so, okay. I mean, I wouldn't even say Core Set 2019 is where it ended either. I'd say it stopped a little bit earlier, but whatever. He says, what was then called R&D made a conscious effort to gradually power down our marquee sets, and by extension the standard format. Our primary goal with that direction was to open up design space, mostly in higher cost cards, and in effects typically not impactful enough for competitive play. And absolutely, I mean, I started to play around M13, like right when it was about to cycle out, actually, right around RTR, Gatecrash, all that. And if something cost above 4 mana, you might as well not even put it in your deck. Standard was so fast and so high-powered and so stupid, boring, and repetitive with no interactions. It was just, oh, turn 4, you better stop me. It was just so boring, stupid, and net-decked to hell and back, with such boring, simplistic decks, and they decided to power it down to save Standard from that. And they absolutely went the right direction. But he says they did succeed on those goals, okay, but our main booster sets should be for everyone, and at that lower power level, if you didn't play Standard, we weren't really making cards for you. I don't see a problem with that. That's how Modern and Commander worked. Occasionally you'd pick up a card or two. All they did when they added cards to, at a power level that Commander and Modern would jump on, and it turns out, Oko and, a couple others, hello, Legacy and Vintage too, they just shook it up, devalued everyone's decks, made a new couple, broken decks, and then turned around and banned them because they were so hazardous and broken in the format. So how'd that go to target cards for formats that you shouldn't be touching, Wizards? In fact, the entire concept and implementation of the product called Modern Horizons was a disaster. They tried to inject older cards into Modern and just broke it. Just absolutely demolished it, and then had to walk it back at the latest possible time they could possibly do it. By the way, if I sound terrible like I have a sore throat, it's because I just inhaled a monstrous cloud of ashes in, I guess, what you could call an unfortunate leaf blower accident involving a bonfire, but I mean, it's not like I didn't do it on purpose. I mean, on the average day, I'm pretty white, but right now, my hair, my clothes, I am covered in white ash powder. I have gone full Ashy Larry. So I got some of it in my lungs, and I'm like coughing and trying not to throw up in between takes here. It did work though. You can really blast a fire with one of those, and I had to burn stuff in a hurry because I'm really impatient. And it all stems from me being too cheap to buy a paper shredder. It's a whole thing. So anyway, yeah, them trying to inject cards into older formats. A couple people were excited, yay, new cards for me to add, and other people were like, oh great, new cards for other people to add. Awesome, now their deck's better than mine. Great, thanks. And then the bannings just pissed everybody off, especially if you built the deck. Modern and Commander and Legacy ain't supposed to move at that fast of a pace. I'll just tell you that right now. Anyway, they say, on top of that, within Standard, the lower power level meant the format was more sensitive to cards that missed on power level. So if they accidentally failed to playtest stuff correctly and let something too powerful through, it'll be so many levels ahead of what, Standard is at a lower power level that it will be so broken. So instead of just 1, playtest better, 2, stop pushing the power level on those cards, and 3, ban it quicker. I mean, other than those perfectly legitimate strategies and reasons to, not say that this was a bad idea, they're saying it was a bad idea. So he says, yeah, when we accidentally let, slip through a Smuggler's Copter or a Gideon ally of Zendikar, whoa, they just became dominant because Standard was so low powered and then we put these in it. So you don't want Standard at a lower power because you're incapable of keeping it that way because Mark Roser comes up with, quote, splashy ideas is basically, your crutch hair. Great. So anyway, if you read between the lines and cut the bullshit, what they actually did was allegedly their new CEO, I don't know if this is true or not, but I've heard this from multiple sources, said, we need to sell standard product to more people. We make a bunch of money whenever the cards really take off in Modern, so crank the power level up. We need to sell these split to 2 different people. Now remember, this is immediately after coming off of the fetch land fiasco from Khans of Tarkir. What happens when you split the demand for a card between Standard and Modern? Standard becomes $800. It's not something you ever want to do. Yes, it generates, additional value, but you effectively price people out of Standard and then slowly kill the format, which in the long term will cost you money. So you should never take the short, easy money to sacrifice the long-term big money. But allegedly, that's what they were ordered to do by, what's his name, Chris Cox or whatever. So thanks a lot, Captain Cox, if this was your idea. So then to skip ahead in the article, because this honestly should have been one continuous statement anyway, first we intentionally powered up our marquee sets, and therefore standard, from Guilds of Ravnica through Throne of Eldraine. Now I kept quoting it as Ixalan, because that's when I felt like they did it, and that's what I thought they said. I mean, we had some crazy cards like Ghalta. I mean, Ghalta is like the most pushed thing I've seen in my life, so for him to say it started at Guilds of Ravnica, he's just wrong. But whatever, we could argue about the timing. It's, when did he think they crossed over a certain arbitrary power level? Whatever, who cares? We know what happened the last couple of years. We've been watching it. So we took this path for a variety of reasons. We think Standard is more fun at a slightly higher power level. Wrong. It's easier to make cards relevant to more players without making bizarrely engineered cards laser focused on a specific niche. If you pronounce it niche, you're a communist. That may or may not actually get there. Looking at you, Alpine Moon, which did he really think that would replace Blood Moon? Like, why? Also, while we'd opened up design space at higher mana costs, we'd realized we'd lost design space in the wackier strategies because a lower powered Standard couldn't absorb them as easily. That is literally the opposite of what happens. Wackier fringe side strategies that are like surprisingly effective, but probably not like quite up to tier 1 power, they fit in better when tier 1's power level is lower and closer to them. If you want to build something wacky in left field, you're going to be able to do it way more at a lower power than a higher powered. Like if you look at the last couple decks from 3 months ago, 6 months ago, 9 months ago, 12 months ago, if you come up with a wacky, interesting side deck and you try and go up against any of that tier 1 shit, do you have a chance in hell of winning? Absolutely not. Not in a million years. So he is dead wrong about writing that. Or he's dead wrong in writing that, I should say. So our intention was that this powering up was gradual over the course of a year, and afterwards we would level off at a standard level somewhere in the range of standard, circa Return to Ravnica and Theros. If you think that right now, the power level that they ramped up to and then leveled off at is equivalent to RTR and Theros, you are out of your damn mind. It's like a complete lunatic wrote this article. Somebody who has no grasp on reality or the standard meta whatsoever. He does eventually say, second, we expanded back into a riskier space. At least he admitted that it's riskier to up the power level of standard. Look at the result, 50, 60 card bans. I mean, clearly it was a mistake. He doesn't even admit it right here that it was a mistake. He's just like, yeah, I mean, Oko, okay, we'll do better in the future. And then remember, this is 2019, and we're now into 2020, and he did not do better in the future. At all. He doesn't even admit that their philosophy of powering things up was a good idea. I think at the end of the article, he actually says they're going to keep doing it. So, great. So he says they mostly targeted the power-up at low-cost planeswalkers. How did that work out? That's one of those hated things in the game in the last 2 years. Color hate, which, whether my card does something or does nothing, in a best of one on Arena, exclusively being based on if my opponent happens to, by blind random luck, be playing a certain color, is the stupidest thing ever, and the year before they had said they're never going to do that. They're removing color-specific, color attack, color hate from the game because it's pure luck, zero skill. That's basically a super high-level summary of why they said they're getting rid of protection from and then name that color. And then they brought it back, and now they have absolute color-crushing cards, which is idiotic. It's all or nothing. It does something or it does nothing. And then if one color takes off as the tier 1 dominant deck, you now have to mainboard a useless, worthless card that you would never in a million years do. Yeah, it's kind of a product of the whole best of one thing, and they're still adapting, but even a best of 3 should have to waste, 1, the first game's loss, or win, waste the win by getting a loss. And then 2, wasting room in the sideboard. And then 3, hoping that swapping 4 cards in that are an answer to something, well, something color specific, actually gets drawn in the second game and the third game, which you now have to win. The chances that you'll see even one copy of that card in both is roughly 20%, 1 in 5. So the whole, but we printed an answer to this card, just put it in your sideboard, that doesn't work. Doesn't work for best of one, and honestly doesn't even work with the sideboard, because sideboards are a lie. And now they made your sideboard a holding spot for outside the game fetch bullshit, instead of, actual things you might actually need in your sideboard. And then they just pushed the whole idea off a cliff by letting people still have a sideboard in best of one. Because that makes sense. So yeah, low-cost Planeswalkers, Color Hate, and open-ended combo cards. Like, every time a creature enters the battlefield, blah. That's what they mean by open-ended. Like, it interacts with a huge variety of something. Like, every time a creature dies, every time a permanent leaves the battlefield, those are open-ended combos. Those are extremely dangerous and commonly requested on ban wish lists, I guess you could say. So looking forward and backward in time from this point, they should not have done any of those three things. Those are three of the most annoying, hated things by the community. And right now, let me just fast forward, Mark Rosewater took a poll a couple months ago on Twitter and on his blog, and both of them indicated that above 70% of people, upwards of even 80% of people, are unhappy with the power level of Standard and said it's too high. So if you needed just direct, like, non-circumstantial, non-anecdotal, like hard numbers, public hard numbers of like over 10,000 votes it had, of the community saying they do not agree with this decision to power it up, they do not want them to do that, they want them to power it back down, there it is. Right in Mark Rosewater's face. Unfortunately, probably the next 4 sets are already done, so for them to even start powering it down after that survey, it's going to be mid to late 2021. And by then the game will be dead and Standard will be unplayable. So, awesome. By the way, I just got to Diamond League in the Standard 2021 Future Queue, and it is an absolute joke. They're going to have to ban every Ultimatum card, Shark Tornado, half the Planeswalkers, half the control cards, half the Gruul stuff, about half of the Trample as a Mechanic cards. They would have to ban like 30 to 50 cards to fix it right now, let alone when Zendikar Rising comes out. So if you think this power level out of control bullshit and tier 1 being at an astronomical power level will be fixed anytime soon, you are crazy. It will not. I think they're going to go swinging the ban hammer after rotation pretty aggressively, like Trump going on, indictments after he gets reelected. It is going to be a bloodbath as soon as rotation happens, because they'll be like, this is our chance to strike and fix Standard. Let's ban this. And I think in the first 2 months after Zendikar Rising comes out, we're going to see more bans than we've ever seen in Standard before, as they try to salvage something and undo this power level ramp up. They even tried the thinly veiled lie about, most people are playing digital instead of paper, so we can up the reaction speed of bans now. No, it's just that bad that you have to react faster is what's really going on. It's not like what they said was illogical, but they're using it as an excuse to just ban things a lot quicker. Before they were dancing around tournaments because they would prioritize literally like 16 people at a tournament. Like some of these were like invite-only tournaments with like 16 or 32 people or whatever. Or just, one Grand Prix or whatever with 500 people at it. They'd prioritize that over the other 10 million active players who aren't interested in or participating in a tournament. I mean, what do you even say to that? It's just plain stupid. There's no two ways about it. That is just plain stupid and illogical. It makes no sense. So they dance around the tournaments because we don't want the pros to have to learn a new deck and train on it. And one time they were like 3.5 weeks out when they said that. 3.5 weeks. I can get a new deck built and done in like 4 days. Half the people go to the tournament were just copycat net deckers anyway, who are going to come in right dead center in the middle, right below everybody with a brain who builds what beats the popular net decks. So if they're not willing to rebuild something from scratch anyway, then they're going to lose anyway. Just saying, the most adaptive best deck builders tend to win these high-level tournaments, not stupid copycats doing what everybody else does. Never try to beat somebody at their own game, because then it's going to come down to a mirror match or a 50-50 chance. So they go on to say, our hope is that the power level of coming sets are in the same league. So there you go. And at the very end, they actually say, our primary goal is and always has been to make a play environment that's as fun as possible. Part of this has been reverting our decision to power down Standard, which we did gradually over the course of the last year. With Throne of Eldraine, we hit the high end of what we're aiming sets to be, outlier cards aside. And our plan is to level out our sets at roughly this power level. So the power level of Throne of Eldraine, which was already cranked up to 11. So they want to set the power level of the sets at roughly this power level going forward. We've stumbled in a few places, but we've been watching, listening, and learning from those mistakes. Now remember, he said this in November 2019. So in almost November 2020, about a year later, have they stuck to that? Have they learned from it? Has their play testing department done their job? Absolutely not. They haven't learned shit. They've let a bunch of overpowered crap through. And then we've got mechanics that were just outright hated, which is entirely Mark's fault because he designs the high-level mechanics. So Companion was a joke. It was never going to work no matter how they did it. He obviously pushed it until they just gave up and did it so that he can learn how stupid he is and then hope he quits or something, which he didn't do. He should have, though. So in Mark's, State of the Union address or whatever for Standard 2020, he really didn't even come close to saying anything that Bryan said in 2019. He didn't say, whoopsies, we went too far with this. Here's procedurally how it happened. They even said, here was an earlier version of Oko. We initially had him do this. We moved stuff around, and this is why we landed there. There's how we landed there. Here was our process. Like, he even shows, like, how did this happen? He literally says, here's how it happened. We're going to try to prevent it in the future. Mark didn't say anything even close to that. He was like, some people didn't like some things. Hopefully they like things in the future. Like, not even like we're going to power it down. Not even like, wow, we've flipped a 180 after 2019 into 2020, still continued to be a disaster. He mentioned that a lot of cards were banned. I'm shocked he even went that far. But yeah, at the end of the day, I am never going to stop referencing this article where they admitted Bryan Hawley came out and peeked us behind the curtain and said, here's what we did. We purposely powered it up. We did it starting with this set, ending with this set. Here's how we made mistakes, and we're going to continue to do it because we want to sell cards to Modern and Commander players to make more money because we're greedy assholes. I mean, he didn't say, like, he said it's not fair or something to print cards only for Standard and not print them for other format players because then Standard, quote, isn't for you if you only play those. That's such nonsensical, illogical bullshit that clearly what he meant was somebody told us to sell cards to more people so that we can sell more cards and up the values and people open more boxes. Like, that's clearly what really went on here. I know that's my opinion, but come on, read between the lines. Nobody's that stupid. I mean, clearly that's what was really behind it. Everything else that he says for like, here's why it really happened, no, he's lying. It makes no sense. So that is the explanation of that article with a link, like I said, in the description after I forget to put it there and 500 people comment, hey, you forgot the link. So watch for that eventually, probably tomorrow, because I'm going to go cough a bunch, probably throw up, take a shower, and then go to bed. Oh, and I'm going to finally have the first video going up on my new channel that I still haven't told you the name of, and you're not going to find it because for once it finally doesn't have the name Desolator in it. I actually don't know what I'm going to effectively call myself in the new channel. I might just never refer to myself ever. But yeah, as soon as I get like 3 or 4 videos on there, I'm going to launch it because if you do it in the reverse order, it'll get flagged as suspicious and the view counts and impression things will be thrown off and it might just basically crash the whole channel before it even gets off its launch pad or I don't know. Anyway, my lungs are burning like hell right now, so I gotta go. I'll see you guys next video.